What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the No Name Podcast. It's your boy Young Rich back here again. Today we had to get into a few things, talk about a few things, but first and foremost, I got to start with it. Play of the day, play of the week, however you want to take it. I do like Tyler Algier over rush attempts. It's 8.5. It got bumped to 9 right before the game started. This past Sunday. This next Sunday, they play the Washington Commanders, who is second in points allowed per game. And they allow 133.7 rush yards a game, which is just something you like to see for an Atlanta offense. And their secondary has been struggling a little bit. They just let Justin Fields go for 4 touchdowns this last week. 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns. I believe he got one more in there on his own that wasn't going to DJ Moore. But I do like this prop right here at 8.5. If you can get at 8.5, if you can get at 9, I still like it at 9. This is going to be one of those games where I really think Atlanta's going to be able to get that run offense going, and then after that, it's going to open everything else up. Desmond Ritter's probably going to have himself a solid game. Based on the previous quarterbacks who've had success. You've seen Russell Wilson have success against the team. Josh Allen is Josh Allen, so he's going to do his things. Jalen Hurts caught fire 2 weeks ago against this Commander secondary. They have not been playing up to their standards, so I do think this is a very, attractable game, in the betting world. The spread is at 3.5 in Atlanta's favor. 3.5, 4.5. I believe it is 3.5. 4.5 at Atlanta's favor. I don't really like the spread in that sense, just because they are 3-0 at home. If you want to take a money line, that is a good take. But 2 of the last games they did win at home. They won by 1 possession, 3 points or less. So it's not really craving my name right now. And obviously the 2 losses are on the road. So with that being said, I do think this is going to be one of those situations where Bijan's going to get his touches. He's going to get active early, and then they're just going to decide to pound the rock. I think it's going to be one of those games where they're going to run the ball for 35 35 times, 30 35 times in between Bijan and Tyler Algier. And, Tyler Algier has hit this prop every single time, especially since it's been lowered from 11.5 to 8.5. He's hit this, I think, 10 games straight, and I think it's just another green bean waiting to happen. It's you've seen it, how their offense goes. They like to get Bijan involved, feed him the ball, but he does everything. He's out there so much. He's a big part of their offense that you got to give him a break. And when Tyler Algier gets out there and they're running the ball well, he's going to get extra touches, and I can see Tyler Algier ended up with 11, 12 touches, maybe, depending on how everything goes. But yeah, I definitely do like this prop. Take it if you want, take it if you don't. It's up to you. I'm going to be greening this week. Here we go. Back at it again. Week 6, quarterback tiers. This one's going to be quick and simple. A lot of good QBs prove themselves worth to get moved up on this list. And from today, I'm going to go from D tier to up, top to bottom. Bottom to top. Save that number 1 spot for who I think deserves it. It's going to be last. First and foremost, Mac Jones, Daniel Jones, they both get removed from the list. I think it goes without question. Yes, you can put a lot of blame on Daniel Jones for his offensive line and for, how lack of him being the most sacked quarterback in the league and things in that nature. I believe he is now second most sacked QB in the league behind Sam Howell, who's still been balling out. So I don't think there's any excuse as to why you can't throw the ball away and things in that nature. Mac Jones, obviously, 2 of the worst New England losses back-to-back weeks. It's not something that gets you put on the tier list, okay? Sam Howell, he's okay. Excuse me. I'm gonna slide a couple lists on the couple people on the list who made some plays this weekend who deserve to at least be on the tier list. Boom. We got Justin Fields. We got Kenny Pickett. Desmond Ridder. That's someone I would definitely want to throw up there. But I do not like to put every QB on this list, and I think with another good performance, another replicate of what he did just this past weekend to beat Houston, I think if I see one more week of that, then he definitely deserves a spot up here. Okay, with that being said, Russell Wilson, although he hasn't been the main reason why this team has been losing, I think he's been playing a lot better, and the numbers support that. There's just overall just having, a terrible situation when a new head coach coming in. That defense goes from being one of the best defenses in top 5, top 10 defense last year in football to not even being able to stop the run anymore and just getting historically demoralized every week in and week out, so I got to drop him a couple bit. Justin Fields, I mean, 2 weeks in a row where you came in here and you performed. I think there's a lot of credit that is deserved for Justin Fields, although he did have that one turnover that kind of put the game away for Denver 2 weeks ago. I still think, I mean, it was just an unfortunate thing that happened. It was so it just happens to everyone. So I'm not going to blame him too much for that. But I mean, this past week he got it done against the Washington Commanders, who was a good team, a lot of people seen as a potential wild card team. So I'm going to put him up there. Sam Howell, I mean, he just played phenomenal this past weekend, nearly throwing for 400 yards, a couple of touchdowns. He did have one bad pick, but I mean, it happens to the best of us. He threw the ball 57 times. I think he definitely deserves to be up here. Jordan Love, he's coming straight down. I mean, after a 3 INT performance against the Raiders yesterday, Monday night, I mean, he definitely deserves to slide down. Jimmy G, another guy. Don't worry, I'm not going to be any sort of bias towards my teammates. I think Jimmy G's at the very bottom of this list. I mean, and it's very debatable. I think he could go in here, right, and really get replaced sooner or later if someone like Desmond Ridder comes out and has another good week like that. The only reason Jimmy G is up here because he does have 2 wins, and Desmond Ridder was not a big factor in a couple of those wins, but he was a big factor in those losses with all those turnovers and his inefficiency to move the ball. Okay. So with that being said, Kenny Pickett had a great comeback win last night. Okay, I will put a lot of it on the fact that the Baltimore Ravens were dropping too many passes, too many mistakes, and so Lamar Jackson definitely did as good as you can with those circumstances, because I mean, if some of those penalties get picked up, some of those catches get caught, I mean, it's a very different story and a very different ball game. But I will respect him for what he is doing. I mean, he's looked good for 2 weeks in a row. He played the Raiders, the Raiders and the why am I freezing right now? And the Ravens, right? So he's looked solid. He deserves to be on the list. Justin Fields, I'm going to throw him up here in front of Tannehill. Tannehill didn't look terrible, but didn't look great either. So I think him staying right there is just fine. They did unfortunately lose to the Colts, which is why he's just staying right there. I mean, Justin Fields, again, like I said, he's really shown out these last 2 weeks. He deserves it. Jordan Love coming down. Sam Howell coming up. Boom. Derek Carr will stay right there. And all these people are saying Derek Carr is a B-tier quarterback. At least go look at the film. That Buccaneers game is sitting in the back of my mind. They just bullied a New England Patriots team it's not very impressive. And he only went, 18 completions. Yes, he had a couple touchdowns and he threw for 250. But I mean, listen, we just said the same. Everyone was saying the same thing about Dak Prescott against the Patriots, and then he goes out there and gets slammed by the 49ers. So for that being said, he's staying right there. Deshaun Watson off a bye week, can't move him. Kirk Cousins being Kirk Cousins, puts up great numbers, does a couple good things, but then at the end of the day, just cannot win games. Anthony Richardson, he's going to stay here just for if I could put Gardner Minshew right here, I would. This is more, so let's just look at this as more of a Gardner Minshew type grade, because he is the one who's gotten them 2 wins this year. And every time he's came in as a backup, he's been able to finish it, except for week 1 when he came in on the last couple plays of the game. Boom, boom, boom. Tua slides down, not down to the B tier, but to the right. I mean, 2 INTs this past weekend. It's never a great thing to see. I mean, there were 2 very bad passes. Wasn't even close to, being good throws. So with that being said, Tua's going to slide left. He's only going 1 spot, and this is where stuff gets interesting. Boom. Lamar Jackson drops down. Although, like I said, he did have a lot of drops on with his teammates. His team's not making plays for him. We still got to put him down. Ball security, getting sacked too much towards the end of the game really costed him. And so he definitely deserves to drop down at the head of this B-tier list. Brock Purdy is going to stay right there for all those Niner fans. Yet, you know what? I lied. Consistency. I've been a preacher of consistency, and there it is, all right? Brock Purdy went against an elite defense and really showed a lot of good things. I mean, his pocket awareness, his feet was just always ready to throw and just breaking down this defense left and right. Dak Prescott, I mean, there was nothing else to say. He was forced to finally make some plays on his own and be the main, focus point of this offense, and he couldn't come through. Baker Mayfield, I mean, this is a tough one right here. I would definitely slide Matthew Stafford in. Yes, Geno and Baker Mayfield are on a bye week, so they have a chance to answer back. CJ Stroud's going to be saying right here. Unfortunately, he did not win the game with that. I mean, that comeback game leading touchdown that he scored in the last 2 minutes was just phenomenal drive put together. They took their time, controlled the time of the clock, and unfortunately they were not able to get it done. So CJ Stroud's going to stay right there because I mean, for the most part, the rest of these QBs have played phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to knock him. Boom. Justin Herbert on a bye week coming up here. Jalen Hurts definitely deserves to be back in the A tier. I mean, 2 straight weeks of 300-plus yards, multiple touchdowns. He had 1 interception against the Rams this past weekend, but I mean, stuff like that happens. That's why he's not the number 1 QB here. Josh Allen with not a very good, he had a good statistical day, but not a very good day. Obviously getting upset in London. He's sliding down here. He is going to be sliding right in front of Tua. Okay, that head-to-head is really what got him in front of Tua in this situation. Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes have been the 2 best QBs consistently all around. And again, it's going to be another week where I have no one in the S tier because I don't believe any QB has really stood out like that and really been the clear number 1. I mean, this year of NFL has just been completely different. It's been very competitive, and a lot of teams have been upsetting and, you know, making certain players look good, and you play a better team, then they look bad, and then that QB who moved up just looked terrible. And so, you know, it's been a lot of humbling stuff this year, definitely. But I mean, having Jared Goff inside this top 9, I think it's well deserved. Matthew Stafford, I mean, it's a very debatable spot. Like I said, him and Geno not playing this past week kind of leads towards that. But Matthew Stafford played solid this past weekend against a good Eagles team. Had finally got Cooper Kupp back, so that's going to help. So very interested to see how this goes. Let me know what y'all think, if this is accurate, how it is. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, here it is, the updated Week 6 NFL team tier list, and I mean, I think it speaks very specific for itself. I mean, let's go top to bottom, as easy as it is. The San Francisco 49ers are clearly the best team in football. They've looked the most consistent, the only undefeated team left in football. Brock Purdy still 12-0 as a starter. He just went out there against what we all consider a top 3, top 5 defense in the Dallas Cowboys and absolutely went for 250, 4 touchdowns, and it was an absolute demolishing game. I mean, one of the most embarrassing games I've ever seen, but also I get to talk a lot of trash to these Dallas Cowboys fans, so you know it's good for me to see. All right, boom. Eagles at number 2. I think overall they're still undefeated. All right, I'm not putting them in that unstoppable tier because for the first 3 weeks they did not look like they were all there, but these past 2 weeks they've looked very dominant. Jalen Hurts averaging 300 yards both games. Kansas City, I mean, yes, they didn't look great yesterday. Travis Kelce injury coming up. I mean, you know, them not having a real wide receiver 1 threat right now. I mean, I just feel like it's a very dangerous situation for Kansas City. They don't look unbeatable. They are still the Kansas City Chiefs, so you have to respect them, but they just don't look unbeatable as of right now. And then boom, you can go all the way through it. The Lions 4-1. Cowboys, although they did get slammed, I mean, they're still an elite team. We hope. You know, we will find out. The Miami Dolphins. I mean, the reason they're behind the Cowboys is because Tua Tagovailoa, I mean, just had 2 INTs against the Giants. Did not look good against the Bills. That's 2 weeks in a row. You did not look great. So this is kind of the thing, the trajectory for Tua, is that he just goes downhill after starting the first 3-4 weeks looking great. Boom, the Chargers coming off bye week. Here they are. I believe this is where they should be. I mean, they're still 2-2 right now. They had a bye week last week, but they have been dominant. I mean, it's just been unfortunate that some of these teams, their defense has not stepped it up yet. So we will see with that going forward. You know what? Out of respect for this entire list right there, I'm going to move the Chargers right here. Just because, I mean, thinking about what I just said, they are 2-2 at the end of the day. They just beat on the Raiders, who everyone thinks my Raiders aren't good. So with that being said, I should move them down a little bit. So I just had to readjust myself, all right? Getting a little too on the high horse. I mean, Jacksonville just upset Buffalo Bills. The Ravens are staying right here just because I do think I'm giving Lamar Jackson the benefit of the doubt that his receivers were not making plays for him. Yes, fumbling the ball, taking care of the ball is always a question with Lamar Jackson, but you know it's a part of the game, and I think if those catches were made and those late flags and all this stuff didn't happen, I mean, it wouldn't have been costly as it was. And then boom, the Bucks went off bye week. They still only a 1-loss team. I mean, a great chance to really do something in the division. And then boom, if you look through this whole all right list, I mean, everyone pretty much is where they deserved. I mean, the only team that's really out of place here has got the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's mainly because, again, they just beat the Ravens with the fact that the Ravens had about 6-7 drops in that game. A couple touchdown passes dropped in that game, all right? So I know that defense is great, all right? So I'm seeing that, but I'm just saying. And then against the Raiders, I mean, Jimmy G threw 3 INTs, and they barely won. They barely won. They came out there sweating their sack off. All right. So with that being said, I think it's a good spot for them to be at the bottom of the all right tier. All right. Again, if they go out here and beat a good team, then I'll be like, all right, let's go. But again, I'm giving Lamar Jackson and the Ravens the benefit of the doubt for this past weekend. Boom. In the meh. I mean, it's pretty simple to say. The rest of the teams in the awful are all just one-win teams, and you got the Carolina Panthers at 0. I mean, it's not really a debate there. All these teams are just terrible, cannot get a win to save their life. And the only reason the Raiders are up here, I mean, we just beat the Green Bay Packers, who are a 2-win team, 2-3 now. But we just beat them, so obviously we can't be, the bottom of the meh. But I mean, picked up our second win. We have a soft schedule coming up the next 3 to 4 weeks, so we will see how that goes. Tennessee Titans, boom, have not looked great. And boom, they're just right there. So let me know what y'all think of these team tier rankings. I think they were, pretty even. And, I'm not giving anyone a benefit. Only team I'm giving the benefit down this whole list is the Baltimore Ravens. And yeah, let me know what y'all think in the comments below about this tier list. Listen, the NBA season is right around the corner. It is coming. The preseason's kicking off. All right. The last of the trades and the last of all that stuff has basically been done with the results. I haven't talked about it necessarily, but I mean, Drew Holiday, he gets traded from Milwaukee to Portland. Portland uses Drew Holiday to go trade him away for some more pieces, and in return, they end up getting Robert Williams and Malcolm Brogdon, which, I mean, overall, I think is just a great pick and just shows, one, how valuable he is to a win now team and how desperate the Boston Celtics were in getting a player. They wanted to get another player to replace not only that Marcus Smart role, but someone else who is a better offensive player than Marcus Smart. I mean, I think overall this was a great trade. You see a team like Milwaukee go get Dame Lillard, right? That extra push and that extra offensive scorer to go beat the Celtics, to go beat these teams, these competitive teams in the East, and then you see Boston answer right back. Say, all right, you got Dame. All right, we got ourselves a Dame stopper. You know what I'm saying? And so now you just see two great teams, getting ready to get stuff started, and this Eastern Conference is going to be crazy. Whoever makes it out the East, it's going to be definitely a fun season to see this. I mean, seeing all these players move around and see Dame get a chance to go shine. I mean, it's just going to be a great year overall in general. But the real team I had to talk about today, I mean, I saw this on Twitter one day, this dude posted saying, Dame Lillard, Scoot Henderson, the Portland Trailblazers built a better team around Scoot Henderson in one offseason than they did around Dame Lillard his entire career. All right? Which I don't think is necessarily true. All right? I do think Dame Lillard's had some players with him before. I can't remember everyone who was there, but I know he went through Aldridge, LaMarcus Aldridge. He had CJ McCollum for some time, so he had players with him. Obviously, nothing crazy happened while he was there with those guys, but I mean, boom. But I mean, just to think about it and sit back and really realize how much the Portland Trail Blazers really got for this young three-guard lineup they want to run. I mean, they got Scoot Henderson, DeAndre Ayton, who's a double-double machine. I mean, and since they're going to be this young team who they want to, they have to develop, they have to get chemistry. This is like a 3 to 4 year project of getting these young guys and developing them and pushing them forward. And now you have DeAndre Ayton, who knows, maybe he comes out here and we see that number one pick potential that we haven't been seeing in late of his career. Yes, he's a double-double machine, but maybe he elevates his game. I mean, I heard Kenny Beecham talking about, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes out and averages 21 and 11 a game. Like it's just that possible. And with him now getting an ability to go get his shots up on a young team, all right? I mean, I just think this works out perfectly. And then you give another solid, like I said, a double-double machine around Scoot Henderson, around Anthony Simons. I mean, it's just great to see. And then you have Malcolm Brogdon, who you just got in, who you've seen his playoff success and how important he was in that playoff run for the Celtics. He was just a great player basically since he got there in Boston, and that's another piece you could trade away for some more picks for another young player, maybe even, depending on what you trade for. But I mean, overall, they've been really aggressive. Most definitely, you're probably going to see Malcolm Brogdon get traded in the near future just because they have that three-guard lineup that they want to run. I mean, between Scoot, Anthony Simons, and Shaedon Sharpe, we know what they're trying to do, what they're trying to go. And then adding Robert Williams on top of that, I mean, I think is a great pickup because you get that more traditional center that they just gave up in Nurkic. Sure, Robert Williams has to be on the floor to be effective, and with his injury history and how injury prone he is, obviously we don't know how much a factor. He will play, but I mean, if you let this guy get 100% healthy, don't rush him back, because you do have DeAndre Ayton there, and then you slowly start sliding him into the lineup, and then, transition into the years to come. I think that's a great piece, because we know his defensive presence around the rim is elite. So, I think overall, I mean, this is not a bad situation for a young rookie to go into, definitely compared to when Dame came in the league. I mean, because then now you have Scoot, number 3 overall pick, who everyone thought could have went number 2, should have went number 2 to the Hornets. All right. I mean, but now you have Anthony Simons, who averaged 21.1 points per game last year and 4 assists, shooting 37.7% from 3 last year with Dame. All right. I mean, now you get into an offense where now it's you, Scoot, Shaden Sharp. I mean, he's going to be that number 3 guy in the guard position, but still, you got so much explosive talent right there. And then Anthony Simons, we've seen what he did when Dame Lillard went down and originally got injured. I mean, Anthony Simons went out there and absolutely balled out. I mean, this is really when I started watching him, was when Dame got hurt, and I started watching him just going out there hooping against the best. I mean, this is when the Suns, they just came off their NBA championship run, and you have Anthony Simons going out there, boom, boom, getting 18 in the first half, and then it's just I started to pay attention to them, and ever since then I've just been locked in with him, and he's a great player. I really do think there's a big leap potential, possibly. I mean, maybe he ups his points to 24 and 25 points per game. I mean, that's something great you like to see. Obviously, we've got to see how it all meshes out. I mean, obviously, Scoot is the true point guard in this whole entire offense, and that's another guy. I mean, you have Scoot Henderson getting mentored by Steph Curry, one of the greatest shooters ever, right? And one of the best to ever do it. I mean, this guy is just everything is going the right way for this guy so far, and you love to see it, this much support for a young guy and for someone like a team like Portland, who's a smaller market team. And then on top of that, Jeremy Grant, who I started watching him when he was on the Pistons. I mean, I thought he was an absolute bucket when he was on the Pistons, a great third, fourth scoring option down the line. I mean, he averaged 20 points a game last year, shooting 41% from 3 last year, which is 41% from 3 last year, which is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, Jeremy Grant really took that number 2 scoring role, number 3 scoring role. I mean, some games he had a couple game winners last year. Some games he would be that number 1 scorer, but his presence was definitely felt, and I think that's a great pickup or a great extension. Obviously, the money is a little out there. Like, you paid him like he's a top 15, top 20 player in the NBA, which he's not, but he is a great piece. So maybe going out and getting him in that fashion was a little pricey and a little bit of a reach, but at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do to bring back the pieces you want. So I'm hoping big things for Jeremy Grant and for this Portland Trailblazers team. I mean, and giving Chauncey Billups all this help and all these players to go out here and win games. I mean, it's definitely going to be a fun team to watch. I mean, this team has so much energy. It's going to have so much explosion, and it's just, man, I cannot wait for the NBA season, man. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be turn for show. All right, here we go. Getting right into it. The top 4 teams. shit fell. All right. I mean, NBA season, like I said, is right around the corner. Now it's time to talk about the 4 teams I believe are the NBA title favorites right now. 2 teams that are going to be excluded from my personal top 4 rankings has got to be the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors. I mean, the Golden State Warriors issue last year is still the same fact that they are in a mixture of, do they want to compete for the next championship, which has obviously been said and wants to happen, all right? You add an addition of Chris Paul, who is going to help that young group and that second group, guys like Kuminga, Moses Moody, those guys start elevating their game and allow them to actually get some true PT and just help them overall become better basketball players and start getting more reps with a true, second team point guard, which is a main reason why they brought in Chris Paul. I mean, but we already know their team, who it is. I mean, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, 2 of the greatest shooters ever. Draymond Green, one of the best defensive presences since he came into the league. I mean, we've seen how elite he's been in his prime. Steve Kerr, legendary head coach. I mean, but overall, this team, yet again, I am not too scared of this team, mainly because of the fact that, I mean, Klay Thompson, he has to go out here and just go on another. I mean, he has to be like prime time Clay, and you weren't getting that last year, which was a big part of their offense. I mean, he just was not very efficient in the playoffs, and Curry was able to put him on their back and get it done. But I mean, how many times do you really want to let Steph Curry put the team on their backpack? I mean, you see it nowadays. A lot of these teams are really stacked up, so you're going to need some more efficient help. I mean, maybe you see someone in the likes of maybe Kuminga start picking up a bigger role off the bench and things in that nature. Moses Moody, these guys who have a chance to step up and make some plays. And then also the Phoenix Suns. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. I mean, they just got three of the best scorers in the league and put them all together on one team, and we've seen how that died on them last year in the playoffs against Denver. They just did not have enough depth. I mean, they did not have any efficient bench scorers. I mean, their second unit was flat. It was not very good. They weren't getting any help from their second unit, from their bench, and basically was, if the first team wasn't playing, they weren't going nowhere. They weren't scoring no points. They weren't making any plays. And just, adding Bradley Beal into that situation now is just going to limit the bench even more. So again, and also Kevin Durant, I hate Kevin Durant with everything in my soul, but he has not proven to be able to win a championship without the likes of Steph Curry, all right? And we know that already, so we're not worried. Devin Booker is a great player, don't get me wrong, but he still has yet to prove that he can get over the hump. Yes, his NBA Finals series against Milwaukee was great, was phenomenal, but he hasn't got there again. I mean, they were talking big talk, and then they end up losing to the Dallas Mavericks just 2 years ago. So we all know how that goes. So they got a lot to prove, definitely, for sure. But the two teams in the East, I mean, it goes without doubt. Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, they just got Dame, obviously, like you've heard everywhere. They traded Jrue Holiday, let him go to the Boston Celtics, the number 2 team in the East, in my eyes. I mean, but you pair Dame and Giannis together, 2 players who averaged 30 points last year. And again, you added a player who addresses all the situations that Giannis doesn't have and that team needs, which is that elite perimeter shooting, elite perimeter play. And then Dame, we know he's capable of being a playmaker. He's capable of catching off the catch and shooting, and he's just capable of getting a bucket at any time when you possibly need it. And then you add the likes of someone like Chris Middleton, who is a borderline all-star. He's just another great scorer that you can rely on. Typically, it's been Chris Middleton who has to really be that late game time player to get those buckets, on the perimeter. But now that you add someone like Dame, it just takes a lot of stress off his shoulders. Maybe you'll definitely see a bigger efficient season for the likes of Chris Middleton, but then you pair that with, you still have Brook Lopez, who's DPOY candidate year in and year out. He's an elite rim protector who can shoot the three. And then with the addition to Bobby Portis, who is a 6-man candidate of the year for the last couple years. I mean, that's just a great scorer you got off the bench who really carries that second unit. This team altogether, it will have a first-year head coach in Adrian Griffin, an assistant coach from the Raptors for the past couple years. So we will see how this begins to develop. I mean, they also have Jay Crowder and Pat Connaughton, two good 3-and-D guys. Jay Crowder is definitely a great two-way player who could shoot the three and is going to give you a great defense week in and week out, day in and day out, But the number 2 team in the East, Boston, it goes to say, they just traded for Jrue Holiday, who was that piece moved to be a Dame stopper. You got rid of Marcus Smart, and now you get someone who's going to give you more on the offensive side of things, who's going to be more of a playmaker, and he's going to give you that elite top 3 perimeter defense. Then obviously I don't have to say the likes of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. We know who these guys are. They are elite scorers at their position, and they talked a lot this offseason about wanting to be better defensively and being the all defensive team selection category this year defensively, which I personally don't think is going to happen. But, with them setting the standard like that, it's going to be a very big jump for this Boston team defensively. Loser Robert Williams, you still have KP, the unicorn, he's going to be an elite rim protector around the rim just because of how damn tall he is, we all know it, and he can give you maybe 18 points a night, and if he's going out there giving you 20, then that's even a plus to everything else. Then you add the likes of Al Horford, who's going to be able to play defense, give you a little couple corner threes every here and there. We know how efficient he is, specifically in the corner. Derek White, another guy who's just a great defensive player. He's going to be able to play make for you for a little bit. He's going to be able to shoot for you. He's going to give you elite perimeter play, and I mean, man, then you got a couple young guys in here. Jordan Walsh, who I heard a lot about. I mean, I heard a lot about going through the draft, and J.D. Davison, two guys who maybe you could see some, some help, some points off the bench when they get their chance, and maybe they could play a line down the factor. But I do like this team overall. I think they got a little bit more depth than Milwaukee does, especially trading away. Malcolm Brogdon and Robert Williams for Drew Holiday, right? So it looks like they definitely, and then Milwaukee clearly had to give up Drew Holiday, which is a big defensive presence, to get Dame. So I mean, it kind of cancels out right there. This is definitely going to be a very great matchup if they do end up meeting in the Eastern Conference Finals. And the number one NBA Finals favorite, I mean, you got to give them respect. I'm always a man to say if you want to be the best team in the league, you have to dethrone the best team in the league. And with that being said, I mean, Michael Malone and the Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, they're three, and Michael Porter Jr., they're four main stars from last year are coming back. They definitely did lose some pieces. They lost Bruce Brown, who played a big crucial point in that offense. They still got KCP. Christian Braun is going to be someone who they're going to be looking at to step up and elevate his game, playing alongside Joker, but playing alongside Jokic with how effective he is passing the ball and getting everybody else involved. I mean, I think he's going to fit right in. He's going to get plenty of opportunities to score. Jamal Murray, we obviously know he plays better in the playoffs than he does in the regular season, which is what you want to see from players. You want them to elevate their games in the playoffs, and so that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, then you have Najee, who going into year two, you're hoping to see some more strides going forward. I mean, but this team again looks good, and sure they're not as deep as they were last year, but it's Jokic at the end of the day, and his playmaking ability is one of the best in the NBA, one of the best as we've ever seen from a big man. And so, he's definitely going to put his team in situations to succeed. But now, on top of all this, I mean, they've been talking all offseason. They won the championship. You heard Michael Malone talk about LeBron James and said he's king, and, said he's the Lakers' daddy. And he said made the retirement joke after he sent him home in 4. And one thing I got to say to that before I start talking about my Lakers is we coming for that. We coming for all that. We want all that. We want you to talk about that. AD knows it. Austin Reeves knows it. LeBron knows it. What they coming for? We coming for it all. We coming for it all. You win one championship and you don't know how to act. That's all I got to say. We coming for y'all. Y'all going to see us real soon. All right, man. That's all I got to say. Y'all got one championship. Act right. That's it. Because when this backfires on you, we give it to you week 1, opening night, TNT, when everyone's watching, the whole world watching, we're going to see. We definitely going to see. Okay, but now let's talk about it. My Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, listen, we definitely have one of the deepest rosters in the NBA, and it just looks great. I mean, last year we did lack a lot of options for the three-point shot. I mean, in the postseason, we relied on Austin Reeves, who 16.9 points per game in the playoffs last year, shot 44% from 3. Rui Hachimura single-handedly won us games against Memphis because of his ability to shoot the 3. They wanted to let him shoot. That was their game plan, and he made him pay. He made him pay. And then you have AD, a top 3 center, who's focusing this year on playing more games in the regular season, which is something I want to see happen. I mean, he's a top 3 center in the league, undoubtedly. He had an okay. To his standards, he had an okay Western Conference Finals, 22 and 11, I believe. And then obviously we know his presence around the rim. And then LeBron James, there is no need for him. LeBron James is going to do what LeBron James does. He's going to play make. And now you added these pieces like you've got Taurean Prince, Gabe Vincent, right? Christian Wood, another guy who signed for a minimum. You have D'Lo. You have all these guys. Max Christie, who I think is a great shooter. He's a bucket getter. He really is. When we had injuries last year, Russell Westbrook went down. He stepped up into the lineup and was making big-time shots for us. So I really do like all these players, including Max Christie. We will see what we get out of our rookie. But, I mean, you have Taurean Prince, who's a great three-point shooter. Gabe Vincent, who's been in the NBA Finals already. Jackson Hayes, who's going to give you some defensive presence. And another man to, if you want to go out there and run Jackson Hayes at the 5 and AD at the 4. Personally, I think AD should stay at the 5 and battle it out down there. Get physical. Go take those shots down low. All right, that's where he gets his money. So we will see. Rui Hachimura, we're hoping for a big season as a Lakers fan. D'Lo, obviously we know he's a regular season, assassin who goes out in the regular season, plays good, and in the playoffs he's non-existent. We're just going to have to deal with that and take it as it is. Who knows? Maybe we move him at the trade deadline. Okay, but I mean, now you put these Christian Wood, a guy who was averaging 17 points per game when he was on Dallas, 16.5 to 17 points a game. Okay, Taurean Prince, another elite 3-point shooter. AD, you started seeing him shoot threes in the preseason, so hopefully that can transition into the regular season. But I mean, listen, and Rui, who we've seen his success shooting the three. Austin Reeves was a 40% 3-point shooter. D'Lo, he has the potential to shoot the 3-point shot, and now you're basically putting LeBron James, one of the greatest playmakers of all time, into a 5-wide, 4-out situation every time down the court. And I think this just is going to be absolutely OD. I mean, the last time LeBron has had a team like this is with the Cavs, and that's when they were getting buckets, and he was, that's when he was playing at his best. He had so much space to do what he wanted down low, and then he has all the shooters around him to pass the ball out, take his shots, and LeBron James is still going to be our main ball handler, I got to assume, right? But, I mean, everyone else is more than capable of sitting there, spotting up, and shooting. Austin Reeves can go get a bucket when he needs to. AD can go get a bucket when he needs to. But the biggest key point for us going forward has got to be Anthony Davis. We need him to be better than what he was to finish out the year last year. We don't need 1 month of him being great. We need the whole 82 games, all right? We need the playoffs. We need his best games in the postseason, late in our regular season. I mean, he is going to be the key to determining how we go about this upcoming season. I mean, he's going to be the Jokic stopper or the containment unit. You know what I'm saying? Limit Jokic as much as you possibly can. So we will definitely see how that goes. And again, let me know what y'all think in the comments below about my top 4 teams in the NBA. I feel like this is a very unbiased opinion because my Los Angeles Lakers are there. Warrior fans, you could eat it. We sent you home last year. All right, you're not getting any younger. And yeah, bro, thanks for everyone for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my TikTok. The link will be in my description. And yeah, let me know what else you'd like to see me talk about. If you eventually am going to be transitioning into longer 1 hour long podcast videos, then I will eventually put up on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. So we will see how that goes going forward. But with that being said, thank you everyone for watching, and thank you everyone for supporting me so far. Hit 100 subscribers. Just hit it. Next goal is 500. So let's keep pushing. Peace.